Oh my God, this is unreal. We did it! Okay, now formal. Good afternoon, Dean Francisco, Dean Mark, faculty, staff, family, loved ones. And of course, the extraordinary class of December 2025. What are the odds? Honestly, what are the odds that 487 students from 75 nationalities with completely different backgrounds would all end up in this room? And when you add the probability of surviving PLDP, either in the freezing rain or the humid warmth, and finding and surviving housing in Fontainebleau, Singapore, and then again for exchange and then again for internships, and also navigating free cash flow, statistically speaking, the odds should be close to zero. But here's the thing about odds. Improbable things happen more often than we think. And maybe that's why each of us arrived here in such different ways, all unlikely on their own, yet strangely inevitable together. Some of us chose INSEAD because it was a lifelong dream, the top student school of the world, they said. Some came because it wasn't actually their dream at all. Some came because life pushed, while others because consulting firms pushed even harder. But what fascinates me more than why we came here is how our paths started crossing long before we noticed. Truth be told, the odds were quietly aligning way before we even set our foot on campus. Every time we refreshed the admissions portal, our email, or the GMAT Club forum, desperately checking if the admissions officer had called anyone yet, only to discover months later that Cherry Blossom 6, the username we were silently tracking all the time, was actually sitting in our study group this whole time. Some of us met on the pre-MBA trips. Some on the first day of school, overdressed and pretending we would stay formal until graduation, until, of course, we changed everything for Fontainebleau sweaters and Singapore shorts. At the time, none of it made sense. But things rarely make sense in a moment. They make sense in hindsight, when we finally see how the odds were lining up the whole time. And speaking of odds, have you noticed that everything about us this year came in odd numbers? 487 students, 75 origins, 29 years of average age. All odd numbers. What are the odds? Everything about us was slightly asymmetric, slightly unpredictable, slightly off the perfect balance. And maybe that's exactly why we worked. INSEAD wasn't smooth. Sometimes it hurt. Goodbyes hurt. Rejections hurt. Not knowing if we belonged hurt. The internal debate about whether New Zealand belongs to the South Pacific hurt more than it should. But then there were the beautiful oddities. Friends who got engaged. Friends who had babies. Babies who learned their first words, and thankfully it was not shareholder value. People who fell in love with someone, with a city, with a new version of themselves. People who finally received a yes they've been chasing for years. And friendships that, against all odds, already feel older than the MBA itself. Time flies, and so do we. But if you watch closely, the odds weren't just in the big milestones. They were in the small, mundane things too. Like showing up to Dash and realizing that somehow half of the class had the exact same idea, minions everywhere, a suspicious number of spa day looks, and at least one Michael Jackson. Like waking up in Bali after a weekend trip and discovering that your name was on the front page of a 30-page report you definitely did not write, thanks to a very devoted study group. These are the moments that made this year what it was. Moments that were unpredictable, chaotic, real, and yet, somehow, exactly what we needed. And I think that's why being here feels so special. Because the odds didn't just bring us to the same campus. They brought together people with different religions, beliefs, losses, families, and dreams. And those differences didn't separate us, they expanded us. But the thing about odds is that they don't guarantee anything. I learned that early. The odds of life don't guarantee time. They don't guarantee certainty. They don't guarantee tomorrow. Allow me to share a story. As some of you know, I'm Brazilian, the daughter of an entrepreneur and a mathematician. I grew up in a family of 4. My parents, my younger brother, and my dog. Yes, Mom, I was not going to forget to mention Nina. For almost 30 years, my parents built a perfect life together. Both successful, both deeply in love. We were, in every sense, complete. Until one day, because of the odds of life, everything changed. My dad worked his whole life in a global tech company. One day, during a work trip to São Paulo, he was asked to stay one extra night so he could fly straight to Houston. And because he suddenly had an unexpected free evening, he said, well, if I'm here, I might as well go to the football game. He went to watch his team play. It was an intense match that ended in a dramatic series of penalty kicks. And in the middle of those penalties, he had a heart attack. The stadium didn't have the proper support to help him. He was taken to the hospital, which by following the right protocol, gave him iodine. He was allergic to it. And in less than 24 hours, he was gone. And that's the thing about odds. They don't ask for permission. They just happen. Suddenly, unfairly, unpredictably. And they change everything. And when something like that happens, everyone around you tried to negotiate with the odds. Maybe if he hadn't stayed, maybe if the ambulance had arrived faster, maybe if the match hadn't gone to penalties. But grief taught me something that statistics never could. You don't get to negotiate with the odds. You only get to live with them. And living with them makes everything after more intentional, more conscious, more real. It's the reason why I notice moments sharply, why I value timing painfully, why I believe that every person sitting in this room, each of you, are not here by accident. Maybe that is why this year meant so much, because we learned not to take any of this for granted. I once read a passage that struck with me. It said, "We can't visit every place, or meet every person, or do every job, yet most of what we feel in any life is still available. We don't have to play every game to know what winning feels like. We don't have to hear every single piece of music in the world to understand music. We don't have to have tried every variety of grape from every vineyard to know the pleasure of wine." And it struck me. That's exactly right. I mean, friends made that clear. We tried to try every variety of grape, but let's skip that part. I would just add, we don't need to live every possible life to feel everything that life has to offer. We don't need infinite choices to understand meaning. We only need to be present in the one life we actually have. And speaking of odds, today, the odds aren't just part of the speech. They're literally in your hands. A small symbol placed for each of you, the students of December 2025 class. Take it with you. Let it remind you of this place, these people, and the unbelievable series of chances that made all of this real. Being here gave us perspective, and perspective comes with responsibility. Responsibility to choose wisely, responsibility to care, responsibility to give back. In the end, it's not about making the right decision. It's about making the decision right. To our families, thank you for cheering for us across time zones, across oceans, and for some, from seats right here today. And for those who couldn't be with us, whether by distance or by circumstance, we carry you with you in this moment too. Partners, thank you. Your love, your patience, your sacrifices. Everything you gave this year was extraordinary. We made time for love, but you made even more. To our professors and staff, thank you for challenging us, surprising us, terrifying us a little, and believing in us a lot. And to the Student Council, thank you for doing the work no one sees, answering the messages no one stops sending, and making this year work. And finally, the odds of all of us being here together in this exact moment are absurd. But absurd doesn't mean random. Absurd often means meaningful. So, what are the odds? The odds are that we are here for a reason. The odds are that our paths crossed at the exact moment they needed to. The odds are that what happens after, the part after this room, is entirely up to us. And now, it's on us to make that reason real. Thank you, class of December 2025. It has been the honor of my life to share these odds with you.
What's there? Okay. Thank you, Fernanda, for sharing happy memories, some things I wish I didn't know, and also clearly some very heartfelt emotions and words for the class. I think the odds of success for all of you were pretty good.